Okay, so you know those cute squirrel videos you see online sometimes? The ones where they're like all playful and stuff.
Oh, yeah, the ones that always seem to pop up on your feed.
Exactly. Well, get this. Today, we're diving into the story of one of those internet famous squirrels, Peanut.
Oh, wow, I think I've seen some of those.
You probably have. He was pretty popular.
Yeah.
But his story, it kind of took an unexpected turn. And
Oh.
yeah, and it's a really interesting case. It makes you think about our relationship with wild animals, especially with social media and everything.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, where's the line, you know?
Right. So we're going to use this article from the Associated Press, break it all down, and see what we can learn.
Sounds good to me.
So first, a little bit about Peanut. He wasn't just any squirrel. This little guy was a social media star. Like tens of thousands of followers on Instagram, TikTok, all those places.
Seriously? Wow, that's a lot for a squirrel. What made him so popular?
Oh, his videos, they were pure gold. I mean, picture this. Peanut jumping onto his owner's shoulder, doing tricks, even wearing these tiny hats.
Wait, hold on. Tiny hats.
Tiny hats.
Yeah.
Like seriously, little hats made just for him. And he'd be eating waffles, jumping through hoops. It was adorable.
Oh, I can see why people loved him.
He lived with his owner, a guy named Mark Longo, who ran this animal sanctuary up in New York. It's called Peanut's Freedom Farm Animal Sanctuary.
Okay, so not just like a regular pet owner then.
Right, a whole sanctuary. And Mark had raised Peanut for like 7 years, ever since Peanut was just a little orphan squirrel.
Oh, so there's a rescue story there too.
Yeah, apparently Peanut's mom got hit by a car, and Mark found him. So it seems like a pretty heartwarming situation, right?
Definitely. So what happened? You said things took a turn?
Yeah, here's where it gets complicated. So someone, we don't know who, filed some anonymous complaints. And next thing you know, the New York Department of Environmental Conservation, the DEC, they raided Mark's home.
Whoa, hold on. Raided, like a full-on raid.
Yeah, it seems so.
Yeah.
They took Peanut and this raccoon named Fred, who also lived at the sanctuary.
So it went from internet fame to a legal situation just like that.
It's crazy, right? And this is the part that's really hard to hear. But both Peanut and Fred, they were euthanized.
Euthanized? Oh, wow. Why? What happened?
It turns out someone got bitten by Peanut during the whole investigation thing. So they had to test for rabies.
Ah, I see. Yeah, rabies is nothing to mess around with.
Right. And the DEC, they put out this statement, and they're basically saying, look, we got to protect public health. This is just a precaution.
Yeah, I get that. It's a serious thing.
But you can imagine there was a huge public outcry, especially from Mark and his wife. They were devastated, understandably. They went on Peanut's Instagram to share their grief and anger, and that just added to the whole controversy.
It's such a sad story. I mean, on one hand, you've got this adorable squirrel, internet famous, bringing joy to people. And on the other, you've got these rules and regulations and this really scary disease. It's tough.
It really is. And it brings up all sorts of questions, is it ever okay to keep wild animals as pets? What about the role of social media in all this? Does it give us a skewed perspective?
Yeah, it definitely makes you think.
It really does. And that's exactly what we're going to dig into next. It's a lot to process, like keeping a wild animal as a pet. Is that ever really okay?
It's tricky. It's not as simple as just giving them food and a place to live. Wild animals, especially squirrels, they have these very specific needs that are super hard to meet outside of their natural habitat.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So even if someone, like Mark in this case, they really care for the animal and they have the best intentions,
it's still, there are bigger issues, to think about.
Right, totally.
We have regulations for a reason. They're there to protect both the animals and us, the public. I mean, wild animals, they can carry diseases. Sometimes they behave in unpredictable ways, and being kept in captivity can really affect their well-being.
And then, on top of all that, you throw social media into the mix, and it gets even more complicated.
Oh, absolutely. Social media, it's all about those cute moments, right? Those little snippets that grab your attention, the adorable stuff. But it's easy to forget about the potential risks, the ethical stuff.
It's true. You see Peanut in his little hats eating waffles, and you're like, oh, keeping a squirrel as a pet, wouldn't that be fun? But
it's not that simple. Not at all.
Nope.
Those videos, those charming videos, they can create a distorted view of what it actually means to care for a wild animal. We have to look beyond those cute moments and consider the consequences.
I think you're so right. Those videos, those seemingly harmless videos, they might actually be influencing how people view wild animals.
Definitely. And it begs the question, where's the line, between enjoying those entertaining videos and understanding the right way, the responsible way to interact with wildlife?
That's a great point. This whole thing with Peanut, it also makes me think about that rabies testing. What does that actually involve?
Well, when there's a possible exposure to rabies, the animal unfortunately has to be euthanized.
Oh, okay.
It's so they can test the brain tissue. And it's a difficult thing, but it's a necessary step to see if the virus is present.
Right. And why is that so important?
Well, rabies is a fatal disease. It affects both people and animals. So the testing, it's there to stop the virus from spreading, to protect everyone.
So it's a lot to consider. On one hand, we have this adorable squirrel with tons of fans online. On the other, we have this serious public health risk.
It's a complicated situation for sure, and there are no easy answers. It really forces us to face some tough questions about how we balance our love for animals with the need to protect them and ourselves.
It's heartbreaking, You've got Peanut, this internet-famous squirrel, and it ends like this. And Mark, his owner, now he's dealing with the legal fallout. It makes everyone think about owning pets, especially wild ones.
It all goes back to what we were talking about, right? That line between loving animals and making sure they're safe. And that we're safe, too.
It's a good reminder that those cute animal videos, they don't always show the whole picture.
Yeah, we have to be more aware,
Mm.
understand the risks, and really think, are we putting animals in danger, even if we mean well?
This whole deep dive with Peanut's story, it's been eye-opening. We started with these fun online videos and ended up talking about some pretty serious stuff. Laws, ethics, it's a lot.
It always comes back to that question, where do we draw the line?
It's like, how do we balance everything? We love wild animals, right? And with social media, we see them everywhere. But we also need to make sure they're okay and that they're in the right place, out in the wild where they belong.
It's a tough one, for sure. It's easy to get caught up in how cute they are and forget that, hey, wild animals belong in the wild. Doesn't matter how much we like them.
Peanut's story it's a powerful reminder of that. Something we should all remember, not just when we see those viral videos, but always whenever we're dealing with nature and animals.
I agree. It's a conversation we need to keep having. We need to think about how we're taking care of the planet and all the creatures on it.
Absolutely. Well, that about wraps up our deep dive for today. It's been a heavy one for sure, but it's so important to talk about these things. And hopefully, by learning about Peanut's story, we can all be a little more mindful, a little more responsible when it comes to our furry and not so furry friends.
I think that's a great takeaway.